Masai Ujiri is ready to strike if the circumstances play themselves out correctly, because Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors could not agree on a contract extension, and the Raptors have been long linked to Jonathan Kuminga and has some pieces to make some trades to bring in a guy that perfectly fits around the Scottie Barnes, RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley timeline. And frankly, Jonathan Kuminga has long been linked to the Toronto Raptors. There's been a ton of rumors about the team going after him in previous OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam trade talks and speculation, and even during the 2021 draft. Masai Ujiri has been enamored with Jonathan Kuminga, almost, was debating taking him the 4th pick the year we drafted Scottie Barnes. So, Jonathan Kuminga has been long linked, and now contract extensions did not go down with the Golden State Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga. There has been some turbulence with Kuminga and the Warriors organization over the past year. So if things fall into place, one for the Toronto Raptors needing another forward, being better than expected over the course of this season, but still obviously not wanting to blow up the course, stay along this timeline, and the Golden State Warriors continue down this path of mediocrity and not wanting to pay guys with all the money that they have tied up in different players. Masai Ujiri is ready to capitalize on one of these situations with how things are going to shake out. So we have a lot of stuff to dive into in this video. But folks, once again, if you guys are part of the 67% of our viewers that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, we have a ton of new viewers ready, amped up for the start of the season. So make sure you guys hit that sub button so you don't miss a single thing that's going on with this Toronto Raptors team, because there's a lot of storylines, a lot of stuff happening regarding the Raptors team this season. And one of them is a long-running narrative, a long-running discussion for this Raptors team with Jonathan Kuminga. Because basically, we'll take a look at what's the current situation, what's currently happening with Jonathan Kuminga. As basically, Jake Fisher summed up pretty well. Jonathan Kuminga is entering the final year of his rookie deal, where the word around the league is from various sources that Kuminga and his representation are looking for a full max extension, which is what was talked about with Ingram and Jamal Murray. And obviously, but if you're not a guy like Scottie Barnes, Lauri Markkanen, one of the top dogs, it's tough to get that big money for your team. But obviously, look what happened to Trae Young in Atlanta since then. It's tough when you get that number, and your team doesn't have a ton of flexibility. So again, the Warriors are contemplating this because Jonathan Kuminga is looking for one of these deals, looking for one of these big money contracts, and the Warriors are in a tough spot because, again, Kuminga is a really good basketball player, really, really good. 16 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and only 22 years old. He was extremely young coming into the NBA and has really improved his three-point shot over the course of his career. 32% overall, which is, all right, but 44% from corner threes, which is very, very encouraging in terms of his development and trajectory, in terms of what he's able to do. He's an uber athlete, can play defense, does a lot of things right out there on the basketball court. And you see it right there, 22 years old. So still extremely young, a couple years younger than, our core Scottie Barnes, IQ, RJ Barrett. So still would fit the trajectory and could be a really interesting piece for this Raptors team. And now news came out the Golden State Warriors and for Jonathan Kuminga did not reach a new deal before Monday's 6 p.m. deadline for rookie contract extensions. So basically, this doesn't mean Jonathan Kuminga's immediately going to be a free agent or something along those lines, but it means, hey, these types of players, in their rookie contracts, especially have shown a ton of flash and promise, generally get their extensions happening this year. And Kuminga's willing to bet on himself and has a very high sort of expectations for his career in terms of what's happening with the team. Basically, Jonathan Kuminga believes he could be have a star trajectory similar to Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam. Now, not to, make analogies, lines where they actually aren't but we know Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam are 2 Toronto Raptors. That's conspiracy Ben out here kind of cooking up, but more specifically, reasons why Jonathan Kuminga could be, more on the outs with the Golden State Warriors. Essentially, after sitting and this came out midway through last season, after sitting out the final 18 minutes of the Nuggets loss, Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga has lost faith in Steve Kerr and no longer believes Kerr will allow him to reach his full potential, sources say. So, again, these fences were mended. Their general manager, Mike Dunleavy, kind of came out and said, hey, things are happy. We want to keep Kuminga. No way a trade's going to go down. Stuff like that there. But when you make a statement like that to Shams, not even in the dirt sheets or something like that, you give it to Shams of The Athletic at the time, ESPN here now. You're making a statement. You're making a decision out there at that point where how you're feeling about this team and stuff. And especially where so many of these rookie extensions, Scottie Barnes was in the Kuminga draft. His deal was figured out right at the jump, right at the start of free agency. If you're making those types of statements. That's not to be taken lightly. Now, Kuminga was given more of a role, was given more of an opportunity over the course of last season, improved his stats, improved his numbers of the second half of last year, and the Warriors are still very high on him. So it's not like a trade is completely imminent. But the Warriors are still in a very, very tight cap hold. If we look at kind of their roster in terms of what they have going, right, they are paying Steph Curry a ton of money for basically the foreseeable future. Andrew Wiggins, it's going to get tough to get off of that bread for the future, right? Draymond Green is under $25 million per season. And then, they have a few guys on the roster which are going to be getting significant money, significant contracts. So again, the Warriors have navigated themselves out of a really brutal situation in terms of cap holds, in terms of stuff like that. But giving Jonathan Kuminga a big max extension after a couple of blown up in their face, like Andrew Wiggins deal, like a Jordan Poole, which they had to give up, deal him away kind of immediately, right? This is something the Warriors are going to be a little bit more wary of, especially with the situation that they're kind of in right now. Now, that's all kind of fun and good. But if Jonathan Kuminga isn't a believer in the Golden State Warriors in terms of developing his talent, he wants that max extension, all those types of things, then those are where factors come into play about different rumors and trades, coming out on the other end of a trade request. Now, the Raptors have long been linked to Jonathan Kuminga. There's been a series of reports about Masai Ujiri, being interested in trading for him, during the OG Anunoby, the Pascal Siakam eras of trade rumors and speculation. And essentially, if the frustration boils over out there in Golden State and the Toronto Raptors are in a position where, hey, because again, this season is a complete unknown for a lot of, I don't care what analysts are saying. I don't care. I'm very excited about a lot of the players on the roster, but us as a team, we have a lot of question marks, particularly off the bench in the short term, particularly on the consistency of guys like Gradey Dick, particularly on the consistency of a guy like Scottie Barnes as the number one option, because he did have his ups and downs over the course of last season before he went down with injury after being the number one guy. Again, very bullish on those guys over the next couple seasons, but this year specifically, especially where the team has come out and said, hey, we're rebuilding. We're trying to, we're year one of a rebuild, right? It's tough to indicate, but if things start falling apart for the Golden State Warriors and things aren't really shaking out the way they want to, and Kuminga wants out, and the Raptors end up being better than expected and want a guy that's more win now but still young, right? Still doesn't affect our trajectory in terms of rebuilding, in terms of reconstructing the roster, but are kind of in the direction of moving forward, then Jonathan Kuminga is kind of exactly the piece that the Raptors would want in that kind of situation, because again, he is going to be expecting a big money contract, but does have that potential star upside that we're seeing from, the Raptors have taken bets on for RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley, right? We're undervalued assets for the New York Knicks and able to get a couple of them for a fresh piece rather than diving into a bunch of draft picks, trying to get moves out there. And frankly, the Golden State Warriors are a little bit thin on their front line, so a guy like Jakob Poeltl, a guy like Bruce Brown could be out there in a potential deal with the Golden State Warriors if things aren't shaking out into place. And even if the Raptors were to give up some draft capital for a Jonathan Kuminga, right? Because again, it's not affecting a rebuild in the sense that, hey, things are completely getting blown up. They're completely, we're going win now. It's still a future play move, but rather than getting a 19-year-old that's going to be good in 3 years, you're getting a 22-year-old that's been through a ton of development, a ton of experience out there in that front, and fits the timeline of the players that we actually have in the mix, and could take that massive leap as soon as you trade for him, as soon as next season. So again, Masai Ujiri's long been intrigued. It's a situation to keep your eye on in terms of what the Raptors are able to do to slide in, because we've seen these kind of unorthodox trades that you feel like wouldn't happen, but could really be in the mix for this Raptors team. But let me know what you guys think about a Jonathan Kuminga trade. I've seen other guys like Lonnie Walker be mentioned in our comment section. I don't think we're going to be signing anyone kind of soon, just basically all the mechanics and things that went into just getting Jamison Battle on the roster. But trades, especially come the trade deadline, definitely something to keep an eye out for, especially if things go in the right direction for the Warriors and the Toronto Raptors. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. That's the best thing as far as subscribe to the channel. I'm signing out. Cheers.